Well, I've heard Ohio is for lovers, but here on Legends, this thing is for wrecking face at Legendary tier. And I'm sure you have a lot of questions about her that I'm going to answer in this video. How much grinding are you going to have to do? Will it cost you money? And is this ship going to be worth it? But let's start with what Ohio is. If it kind of looks like Montana and Georgia smudged into one, that's because it is. It's the same massive 457mm guns found on our Tier 7 Georgia, except now you have 8 of them. The guns are insane, of course, with the biggest alpha damage amount in the game, I believe, 15,750 per shell. Oh, and they're accurate with a Sigma of 2.0 and Warspite dispersion. It should be among the most accurate stock battleships in the game, which could leave room for a nice secondary build. Ohio has very accurate secondaries as well, kind of like Georgia, but the stock range is 7 kilometers. So a secondary build is definitely an option. Throw it all on top of a Montana hull, and there you have it, Ohio. So let's dive into the stats more in depth a little bit later, but first, let me set up this game in the background that is definitely going to be worth your time, let me tell you. In this match, we have a fellow community contributor named the Monk on the enemy team, maybe some of you might know him, and our fearless CC leader, Orochi, from the Wargaming staff on my team in the New Brisbane. So it's going to be a pretty cool match, and it may feature a couple nasty dev strikes as well, so stay tuned for a banger of a match. For my build, I'm using Willis Lee, Von Hipper, and D. Revell. So pretty much a hybrid build, secondary and main guns. And the secondary range on this is up to a solid 10.6 kilometers, and the main battery reload down to around 25 seconds. Worth pointing out, I'm actually using on second thought, which I usually don't. It lets you switch the shells in about half the time if your guns are loaded. Ohio really doesn't have any weaknesses that I can see. Honestly, you could build this thing most any way you want to, and you're still going to have a fun time. So we're heading out on the flank here to try to set up some crossfires. Normally, there are some enemy ships sailing into A, but this time we're met with 2 cruisers out on the flank of Drake and Alaska, and we're soon gonna spot my fellow community contributor just over there, Mr. Monk. So let's try to stop Schlieffen's push into the middle and kind of go from there. If you look down at the bottom corner of the HP pool, 96,300, that's actually more than the Grosser Kurfürst, making this the highest HP pool in World of Warship Legends. On top of that, she has 3 crazy good heals stock. They're going to bring back 16,000 health apiece. And the kicker, they reload in 40 seconds. There's only a 40-second cooldown time between heals. That's about half the time it takes most other battleships to do it. Yamato, 80 seconds, Montana, 76 seconds. So Ohio can take a beating and keep on ticking. Lots and lots of punishment, and she can heal back that health very, very quickly. With the heals and the HP, she now has the highest effective health points at the tier. So it's looking like this ship doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. Also, I failed to mention my modules, but we're using the secondary module in slot 1, propulsion concealment, and then artillery plotting room in the 4th slot. Of course, this is an American battleship, so I would take full advantage of that. You know, alternatively, you're just going to shave 20% off the reload time of your secondaries, and they're already fast at 3.7 seconds. So for me, I would rather have that extra dispersion buff, but test it out, see what you can come up with. Looking at the armor viewer for this thing, you know, being a Montana hull, that is a high point, actually. The 38mm of armor found on the deck and the upper belt is like a giant middle finger to Yamato and Musashi. It cannot be overmatched by their giant 460mm guns. So if you're angled properly, there isn't a ton Yammies can do to you. You know, they're going to have to aim at your bow, which is 32mm, or your stern. So, you know, the Montana hull is actually really, really tanky. The Citadel, I believe it's below the waterline, just like Monty. So overall, this is a great armor scheme and a pretty tanky ship, and it's starting to look like Ohio doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. The gun firing angles are okay, but the guns, oh, they're amazing. 457 millimeters, of course, that overmatches 30 millimeters of armor. So ships like Zhao, Henry, Yoshino, Salem, these cruisers that have these thick 30 millimeter upper belts, it's not going to matter to Ohio. Just aim a little bit above the waterline and you should be able to punch right through. Of course, only having 8 barrels, the DPM is going to be a lot less than other battleships at the tier because you have that low barrel count. 8 barrels isn't a lot, but they're accurate, and we're about to put it to test on Alaska here. I know there's a Drake and there's an Alaska, and I should have saved my fire for the Drake because I know he has torpedoes, but Alaska is also a pretty nasty ship to see up close, so shots out on him before he can react, and kaboom. That's the first dev strike of the match. There's another one, so stay tuned. Yes, the guns feel very, very good, and again, we're not really buffed into it that much. D. Ravel's bringing our reload down, but no Cunningham, no Iachino, nothing like that. Now the low barrel count. Even though this ship's accurate, sometimes it might feel like it's not, and that's just because you're not throwing that many shells downrange. When you throw 16 shells downrange in Colombo or say the Marlborough, you know, it feels pretty good. Like there's so many shells. If you throw enough crap at the wall, some of it's going to stick, right? Well, Ohio with the less amount of barrels, if you get a bad RNG roll, it's definitely more noticeable. Shout out to my teammates for helping me with this Drake. I know he's torping right now, so we are going to try to turn and avoid some of them. The maneuverability of this ship, it's not great. We're going to cover that though here shortly. The secondaries on a full secondary build, you should be able to get them up past 11 kilometers. I didn't test it out, but it's definitely something to think about building into. The guns, you know, they're just 150 or 127 millimeter American secondaries, dual purpose guns. They don't pin a lot of armor, 21 millimeters, I believe, but they do set a lot of fires. We have 3 fires so far in this match out of 75 secondary hits. So like, you know, every 25 secondary hits, fire. Very fast reload, and that is nice. And they're accurate. We're actually going to test it out on a DD here a little bit later, but they seem to be very accurate. Anti-air, which is something that is starting to matter more up here at higher tiers with the, oh my god, what's it called? The Midway and the, I don't even know, Hikiryu, I guess? I'm not a carrier player, can you tell? But Ohio, like most USN battleships, has some pretty friggin' good AA. 5.2 kilometer range at the farthest, and a DPS of 683, which is now the best AA for a battleship at the tier. And this is when I'm starting to think, Montana is looking obsolete all of a sudden. Now on PC, the Montana actually has better heals than Ohio, like pretty big tanky heals. So I'm wondering if our Monty doesn't need to get some sort of a treatment to make her relevant again. I don't know, guys, but like Ohio sailed in, and Monty, I don't know, I might just sell it from my port. I'm just kidding, I'm not gonna sell it. Speed, as you might have noticed, we're slow. So coming over here on this far side of the map is, yeah, I don't know, maybe it was a mistake, but I really needed to clean the Drake and the Alaska off the board. But we're slow, 28 knots, it's lower in the pack. You might be, you're 1 knot faster than Yamato. I would definitely bring a speed flag on this thing. And also, just to talk about what we're doing right now, Ohio and Yamato, Monk and their Yamato are sailing in. So I'm going to go wide out here so that they can't angle to all of our ships at A and to me. They're going to have to angle to one of us, and then hopefully we can maybe salvage this game, but it's really not looking good at this point. That's okay. I'm still having fun. So the maneuverability. As you saw earlier, we tried to outturn those torpedoes. Nay, my friend, not going to happen. 950 meter turn circle, which I guess that's about what you would expect. In real life, the Montana hull was supposed to be like 920 feet, like 3 football fields. It's huge. It's not as bad as the GK or the Stalingrad, but this is just not a very maneuverable boat. And somebody smacked Monk. I don't know who or what happened there. It looks like he's pretty well angled, so I'm very curious. I would like to hear from his perspective what happened right there. And then we tried to do a cheeky little shot over the top, but no dice. And about this point, I'm thinking, this match is a loss, and I might have twiddled my thumbs too much over here being out on the side, and we're just too slow to get back into the fight and salvage this one. But still, part of me thinks since I haven't been spotted, maybe I can sneak around the edge here, kill Yam, use the secondaries on Monk, and maybe salvage this one? I don't know. We'll have to see. Let's see what happens. Now, a lot of you might be wondering, how do I get the Ohio? Is it going to cost me money? Is it going to be a grind? Well, a little bit, guys, but not as bad as last year. And let's take a trip down memory lane. Yoshino. Last year, Yoshino cost 35,000 of the event currency, whatever they were called. Ice crowns, Christmas coins, I don't know what they were called, but 35,000. This year, 15,000 for Ohio. You're going to get 9,000 alone from the campaign if you buy Admiralty backing. Meaning you spend 2,500 doubloons on the campaign and finish it in 5 weeks, and there you go, 9,000 ice crowns. Okay, our slow speed once again is coming into play here as we try to get around the corner to get every single gun on Yamato. I don't want to leave anything to chance or let him get wise. But 4 pins, that's all it took. And there goes a full health Yamato. Gearing appears right in front of us, so we're gonna see if our secondaries can knock him out of the fight. All right, recap. You need 15,000 ice crowns. You're getting 9,000 from your campaign. There is a free gift in the store that is going to give you another 500 ice crowns. So we're at 9,500. The advent calendar. Assuming there are 100 ice crowns on every day of the month, it should be good for about 3,000 ice crowns. So if you log in every day, complete the missions, there's another 3,000. So you're at 12,500. You only need 2,500. And here's where it might cost you. There are Santa container bundles in the store. You get 10 Santa containers. I think they're level 3s or whatever. It costs 12,500 doubloons. And when you buy that, you get 2,500 ice crowns. So all of that added up, it would cost about 15,000 doubloons to get Ohio, which is cheaper than a tier 7. So compared to last year, it's not that bad. Nothing compared to Yoshino. Lion, I believe. Was Lennon also a Christmas, or I'm sorry, a holiday event? I can't remember. Anyways, it's not that bad. It's a decent amount of time or money, but you're getting a legendary tier battleship that is now probably the best legendary tier battleship in the entire game. Honestly, it might be a little too good. I think it needed something to make Montana, still relevant. But it literally came into the game and Montana is now, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, but I don't see why I would ever play Montana. We used the shell switch time thing there. I'm not convinced I like that skill that much, but still, I mean, half the time to switch shells is nice. We get a double fire, but it's all not going to matter because if the gearing would have died, we would have got the Kraken and it would have gave us some more points to stay on the board to try to kill Musashi, but alas, my friends, we could not turn this one around. GG's Monk, GG's Orochi. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are on the update. And remember, if you don't want to spend the extra for Ohio, you could settle for the Anhalt and you could get it for the cost of the Admiralty backing. So not bad. Anyways, I would love to hear from you. Like, sub for more content. This is Derka signing off. See ya.